Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are just starting your Python journey for data science or analytics, in the previous video I have shown you how you can download and install Python from either python.org or Anaconda distribution. But it was recommended to use Anaconda distribution if you are really interested in data science or analytics. Now once you have installed or downloaded Python or maybe Anaconda distribution, the second question comes to beginner's mind is which IDE to choose. There are so many IDEs and code editor available for Python, so which one to choose? And one more thing you need to understand if you are an absolute beginner in Python, that Python file can be of two types. One, you might have seen it, .py files, and .py files are plain Python files in which you have Python code. You can obviously write comments there by using hash. Another format is ipynb file, so the extension is ipynb, and we call it ipython notebook. So ipython notebooks, how these are different from Python files? Python notebooks include not only code, but also it can show you the output simultaneously and the plot and some text in the form of markdown. So it's kind of a complete documentation if you are preparing a report or if you are preparing a tutorial where you want to explain what you have done in the code right there, then it's better to use ipython notebook. So I'll show you the difference how it looks like, and if you are working on a project you probably prefer using Python files because that includes only code, and you can obviously have some comments there, and to manage projects and have modules and classes, all those things you might want to work with Python files. We will come back to those topics at later stage. So currently two kind of Python files you can see, .py and .ipynb. So just have a look at a Python file. It looks like this. Let me zoom in. So in the Python file we just have codes and some comments for explanation, and we don't get output here in the file. It's basically a script where you just write code. You don't get output directly in the script. So when you run the code you get output in the console, and you have options of running current cell or you running the entire notebook, and it's useful when you want to create projects and you want to use functions from different files, or you want to create your own modules or classes. Let me show you how does an ipython notebook look like. So here is one ipython notebook which I have opened in Jupyter, and you can see that I can write the clear description here as we write in notes or books. So I had made it a heading by using hash. I had made these bullet points. I can even give numberings. I can make subheadings as we have discussed few of the markdown functionalities. And here is the code cell. We can run the code cell. We can hide the output or we can display the output, and these are the detailed descriptions of what's happening and code and output, and we can even have charts included in the notebook. So it's a complete documentation which includes heading, text, charts, code, output, everything. And we can even insert pictures in this. So I was explaining if you are working in Colab how you import or export files. So I have added some screenshot that can be done in Jupyter. We can obviously download our work in Jupyter as a Python file or ipython notebook, and we can save our work in Spider as Python or ipython notebook. Both can be done. So you see Python file here and ipython notebook, both options are done. Here I have opened a Python file in Jupyter notebook. It is by default .py extension, but I have opened it in Jupyter so I can see it like this. And if you are working in Colab, so it's again support Jupyter notebook. This is how Colab notebooks looks like. And if you want to know more about Colab, I have created videos on how to get started with Colab, what are the advantages and awesome features of Colab. Check out my videos for those. Code and syntax will remain same. Whatever format of Python file you are creating or whatever IDE or code editor you are working, Python code or Python syntax will remain same. Now how these IDEs are different? In the current video I am talking about Jupyter and Jupyter Lab. Yes, these two are different, so I'll show you these two. Now if you have downloaded Python from python.org, plain Python, then you need to separately download or install some Python ID which you want to use. Obviously you can use command line, but that is not very interactive, so you might want to download or install the particular Python ID. So if you go to this link jupyter.org, or if you just Google how to download and install Jupyter on your system, you will end to this page and you can read about documentation and few other things there. So let me show you. First it says about Jupyter Lab. We will talk about it soon. And you can see there is an option to install Jupyter Lab and try it in your browser. So if without installing, if you just want to try it once and see what is there in Jupyter Lab, then you can try it in your browser by clicking here and see. It is saying try browser, you want to try the classic Jupyter Notebook or you want to try Jupyter Lab. And Jupyter also support many other languages. So you can try Jupyter with other languages like Julia and R and so on. So if you just want to try Jupyter Lab, click here. It will take you to Binder. Binder basically helps you to try any of the IDEs which you want to explore without installing or downloading on your system. We will see that in Spider also. It is taking little bit of time. That's okay. Now see that next it talks about Jupyter Notebook. So again you can install the notebook or you can try it in your browser if you want to just see how it works, and then it talks about few more things. Now if you have already downloaded Anaconda distribution, then you just need to write it in your search bar Anaconda and Anaconda Navigator. So click on Anaconda Navigator. I have already opened this, so you will see this kind of Anaconda Navigator, or otherwise in the console you can write Jupyter Notebook. So there are various ways you can open Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab. Now in Anaconda Navigator you see this kind of interface. I have not updated my Anaconda distribution or these IDs from quite a long time. So I can see Jupyter Notebook 6.0.0 version. If you have just done this, you might have seen, you might be seeing different version. Jupyter Lab version 1.0.2. So these are different options. This is console, this is Jupyter and Qt console, Spider, various IDs. You can see Orange, RS Studio, VS Code. So the IDs which I have already installed, I have seen the launch button here because I have already installed these Jupyter or these IDs. If you have not yet installed, you will see this kind of install button. You click there and follow the instruction. You will be able to install that. Once you have installed, you will see this launch button. One more thing is, you see this settings icon here. If you click there, it asks if you want to update application, or if you want to remove this application, or if you want to install a particular version. I can see there that I am using 6.0.0 and these are the versions available to me. So if I want a particular version to install, I can click there and I can follow the instruction. I am not doing these things right now, but these are the options which are available in every application. For example, in Jupyter Lab also you see these options. Now let me launch Jupyter Notebook first. So to launch it, you need to click here. I have already launched it to save time. So after few seconds, you will be able to see this kind of a home page, right? And usually you see some folders here and some file here. Usually it is rooted in the folder where Jupyter Notebook server is running. So in a separate video, I have talked about if you want to change this startup folder. For example, if it is in your C drive and if you want to change it to a particular folder, I would suggest you just create a particular folder on your system, a particular location where you want to have all your Jupyter notebooks. So you can change your startup folder in Jupyter Notebooks. How to do that? I have created a separate video for that. You can refer that. Here I am showing that in my startup folder, these are the folders and these are the files. So if I just show you that the same folder which I have set as Jupyter startup folder, I have the same files, git clone housing in these PDFs and these ipython notebooks, some Excel files, some Word document, some Python files, some images, everything. So the entire content of this folder can be seen here in the startup folder, right? There are few things you can do with this. You can click here and you see something, rename, move or delete. So if you want to rename, move or delete a particular folder or file, you can do that. Obviously you can do that with your local folder also. Now you see this icon is green, getting started with ipython notebook, and it says it's running 22 minutes ago, because this is the notebook which I had opened and it's still running. Let me show you. It is here, getting started with ipython. So this notebook, because I had opened, it says it's running. It has some basic tips and tricks for getting started with ipython notebook. If I close it from the browser, I'll show you how to open and create a new notebook. It still says it's running 23 minutes ago. So even if you close a notebook or a file, it is still running. So you need to shut down the kernel. And how you can do that? Select the file, and now it has one more thing. Do you want to duplicate this file? Do you want to view this file, edit this file, or shut down? Currently I am interested in shutting down the file. Now I already have these files in my folder, so I can open any file and I can keep working on that. So you might not be having any file in the start, so you can create a new file by clicking on this new. So in this new, you have some options. You want to create a new Python notebook which works on Python 3, or you want to create a text file, you want to create a folder, or you want to create a terminal. So see, if you create a folder, it has created untitled folder seconds ago. And if you click that, this folder is empty. There is nothing in this folder. So I don't need it. Let me delete. And text file, if you want to create, it will open a text file in the new tab in your browser. So you can edit this text file, you can save this text file, and if you don't want it, you can delete it. So you can arrange it in order of last modified, and I just want to delete this text file. And you see the options are, I can even download this text file. Now let me show you how to create a Python 3. So when I create a new Jupyter notebook, it opens up a new file in the browser. So I can click here and I can rename this file. So I just rename this as test1 and it's renamed. Now there are various options. In file you again have the option of opening a new file, text notebook, Jupytext, we are now talking about these, making a copy of this particular file. You have created a file and you want to make a copy for some purpose, save as, rename, checkpoint, print preview, and download. So you can download this notebook as HTML or Markdown or even PDF or even PY file and slides also. So these are the various options, and this is basically a code chunk. Here you write the code. So if I just write here Python code for printing hi, I need to run this code to see the output. So control enter or shift enter. I see the output here. So this is the code cell and this is the output, and a new code cell is added. And here you can see code. So you can change it to Markdown or raw or headings. So if I change it to Markdown, see what happens. Now I can't see the numbering here. And if I just here do print hi and run it, it's not executing this code because I have converted it to a Markdown cell. So in Markdown cell, usually we write text in the form of heading, subheading, or tables or borders, whatever you want to do. So to create a heading, I need to use hash space and I can give it a heading. So heading 1, this is my heading 1, and here I can write some code or something. If you want to change the format of a current cell, this is a code cell by default. If you want to make it Markdown, the shortcut is M. Now it is Markdown, and if you hit Y from your keyboard, it will convert to code cell, but that time your mouse should be here. And there are various options you can explore to add a new cell here. You can do this to cut cell, copy, and shift cell up, shift cell down. These are the arrow, and the shortcuts are also there. BA are the shortcuts to add a new code cell below or above the code cell. And in edit you can see cut, copy, paste, paste above, paste below, replace, split and merge cell. So I have another cell here, x equal to 5, print x. And if I want to merge these cells, so I can select these cells by using Control Shift, and I can go there and I can merge these cells. So now this is in one cell. And if I just want to split it again, but when I am splitting, I need to make sure where is my cursor. So it will split according to the position of cursor. Now my cursor is here after print, so it will split. Print is in one code cell and this is in another code cell. There are few basic things you can do, and I would suggest you to just explore these options yourself. And in insert cell above, In cell you have option for run cell and above. So if you want to run entire notebook, you can go and click here, run all. If you want to run a current cell, you can click here, or otherwise shift enter, control enter are the shortcuts, and few more options you might want to explore. And if you want to clear output of current cell, you can clear, or if you want to clear output of all cell, you can clear from here. So let me show you. Now it has cleared the output of this cell. There are various options you might want to explore. You can restart the kernel, you can restart and clear the output, restart and run all. There are various options. And earlier there was Python 2 as well. So earlier there was a possibility to switch kernel between Python 3 and Python 2. It's not available now. So these are the things you can do with Jupyter Notebook. Now I'm not telling you all these options and shortcuts. You can see all those shortcuts and you can even customize your shortcuts. I'm not telling you all these things. And you see, I was working in test1 file. So this test1 file is running here. So even if I close the test1 file, it says that changes may not be saved. It automatically save changes. You see auto saved here, but it takes few seconds. So if changes are not saved, it gives you warning. It's still running, so I can shut it down, and if I don't need it, I can delete this file. To know more about Jupyter Notebook basics, you might want to read this documentation. It gives very clear instruction about file, running tab, and the notebook, and markdown cell, code cell, raw cell. In markdown cell, you can format the text by using markdown language. In raw cell, you can't do that. And these are the keyboard shortcuts you might want to remember if you want to explore Jupyter Notebook. Get yourself comfortable with some of these shortcuts. It will save your time. I'll share this link in the description box of my video. Now let's talk about Jupyter Lab. I showed you that the first option here is Jupyter Lab. So first of all, you can start with Jupyter Notebook so that you get comfortable with how to work in Notebook, how to write in Markdown cell, how to do Python coding if you are absolute beginner. But if you have reached a stage where you are already comfortable with Jupyter Notebooks, this time you might want to explore Jupyter Lab also, and I would recommend you to switch to Jupyter Lab. So this was the preview of Jupyter Lab. Remember, I had clicked here, try it in your browser using Binder, and it was taking time. So this is the preview of Jupyter Lab, and you can see getting started, installation, all these instructions. I'll show you live, but you can click on these options and try how you can start Jupyter Lab and some frequently asked questions. So for Jupyter Lab, you can launch from here. I have already launched, so let me show you. When you launch a Jupyter Lab, it looks like here is a launcher. You see notebook, console, terminal, text file, markdown. These are the options. So you can open a new notebook from here. If you just want to open a Python console, you can open from here. Let me open a new notebook. So I see here a new notebook, Untitled 2. I probably had opened a new notebook few minutes ago when I was just looking at the options. So it is Untitled 1 here. Anyways, you can write the code and you can rename the file. You can save this file as you were doing in Jupyter Notebook. Here are the options to rename the notebook, and here also you see the same tabs but maybe with extended options. So in file you see new, console, notebook, terminal, text file, markdown file. So you can open these kind of files, and there are few new options here. Close all tabs and close current tabs, because you can have multiple tabs here, for one for Python file, one for notebook, one for text file, one for markdown. So you can close one or all. Export notebook as, these are the options, PDF, HTML, and some options you might want to explore, edit, view, run, kernel. So I would suggest you again that you go to these things and you explore. This is the thing which I prefer doing whenever I am working in any IDE, that I prefer to change the theme to dark theme. So how we can do that? I have changed it to dark theme. Now few things which are really great in Jupyter Lab. I'll show you some of the things. Let me just delete this file. I don't need this untitled file. Let me show you some example. This is a file, and few features which I really like in Jupyter Lab are, For example, these are my code cells. I can run these code cells. So again, the same control enter or shift enter shortcut. I'm running these cells by using shift enter. So what I have done, I have imported some libraries. I have used DAS data frame to read a CSV file. If you are new to this, just try to see the Jupyter Lab feature. That's okay if you don't know about DAS. So I have seen first row of this data frame by using head command. Now the features are, I can go here and I can right click. I'll see some options, and close tab, close other tabs are not new. I can see new console for the notebook. So if I click here, I get additional console here just below the notebook. Either I can put it there by dragging from the mouse in the simultaneous tab, or I can again take it down and I can put it here. It's a console which gives me flexibility to try and run some code without disturbing my current notebook. So if I just want to do some rough work, I can do it. So suppose I just want to see last few rows of the data frame. This console is linked with the current Python file, and if I just run any code, it will show you for that Python file. So df.tail is showing me last 5 rows for the current data frame. So this was just one example using df.tail, but whenever we want to try a particular code chunk and we don't want to disturb our current notebook, we can try that code chunk here in the additional console which is linked with the current file. I was using this feature a lot in Google Colab. Colab also have amazing features, and I have created some videos on Colab tips. There are some other great things about this is we can click here to new view for notebook, and if you click here, I see the same notebook is opened here. Now sometimes what happens, we are working in a notebook and we want to see what we have done earlier or what's the output of that cell. So in Jupyter Notebook, if we just keep on browsing like this and coming back to that cell and making the changes, it becomes difficult. Here it gives me flexibility to browse the entire notebook simultaneously and make changes accordingly in the existing notebook. So it's another amazing feature. One more thing is, definitely you can open multiple files together. This is a Python file, this is ipython notebook. You can copy paste code from one file to another. There are few more features which are really exciting. One thing I would like to say you is that any active file you see here, the URL is localhost something /lab. And if you want to open this particular file in Jupyter Notebook, the vanilla Jupyter Notebook format, how you can do that is click here and change the URL. So instead of lab, now you need to write tree. And when you do that, you will see that it opens up your Jupyter Notebook. So at some point of time, if you want to work in Jupyter Notebook, you can open it directly from your Jupyter Lab. And you can go back to Jupyter Lab by clicking this, and you are here. Now I am not discussing all those features and tips and tricks for Jupyter and Jupyter Lab. It would be overwhelming for a beginner, but I have given you an overview. If you prefer creating notebooks for your work, you might want to explore Jupyter, and then you can switch to Jupyter Lab. In the next video, we will talk about Spider. Thank you for watching.